Hey everybody, this is Tim back with Cornucopia. Today I just want to take a few minutes to take a look at something that's been making its way around the internet. It is the new Snow White trailer from Disney. I'm not going to dump on it, not in the same way as everyone else is. There are things about it that I don't like. They're not exactly the same things as everyone else is saying, but there are a few things. And so I want to take a look at that and see what you guys think. So sit with me and we can get into it. Alright guys, here we are. I'm going to take a look at the new Disney trailer that dropped, I think it was last week sometime. And at this point in time, that's, I guess the term is ratioed. It is really being ratioed into oblivion, as people like to say. And I guess the ratio is how many positive votes compared to how many negative votes. And the negative votes are just off the charts, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. But let's first take a look at the trailer. And I'm not going to show the whole trailer. I'm only going to show you the first like 30 seconds, and then I'm going to skip to another part in a few minutes. But I just want to highlight a couple of things. I mean, you can go and you can watch a lot of other reviewers all talking about the different aspects and the elements, and some of them show you the whole trailer, and you can go onto YouTube and just type in Snow White trailer and it'll pull it up. But I'm only going to talk about a couple of the things that I thought were interesting. And so, yeah, let's take a look at that.
This was my father's kingdom, a place of fairness.
Okay, so this is part of my problem. Okay, so they discuss this word called fair, right? Fairness. She says, "This is my father's kingdom, a place of fairness." Now, if that were the whole point of the movie, I can understand it, okay? But that's not the point of the movie. You have to go back to the original movie of Snow White, right? So what happened in the original film? Well, the evil queen was after Snow White because she was prettier than her. And in the original movie, Snow White was prettier than the evil queen. Not so much in this one. But I understand they wanted to update the movie. They wanted to change it a little bit. And this whole concept of fairness would have been a good direction to go, right? So the evil queen comes in, she takes over the kingdom. It's no longer fair. It's a dictatorship. The queen is a dictator. Okay, I get that. But they didn't keep it on that track. They had to interject things and from the old film, and their interjection is laughable. I mean, it's absolutely laughable, and we'll get to that here in just a second.
But the Queen changed everything.
Take him away!
Your Majesty,
What did you say?
the people need some kindness.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
People need some kindness. You're right back into the fairness part. Absolutely understand that.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Fairest of them all. Okay, let's keep this idea of being fair and just and non-discriminative going. Let's do that. Yeah, that's not what they do.
Famed is thy beauty, Majesty. A lovely maiden I now behold.
What? Famed is thy beauty, majesty. Yeah, she's very beautiful. Anyway, so let's jump off of this for just a second. Okay, so I've pulled up Photoshop, and I just want to do a quick comparison. I don't want to stick on this for very long because it's really a moot point at this point. So anyway, here is the fairest of them all, Rachel. She's kind of cute. She's not Gal Gadot. And just in a side-by-side comparison, I mean, even in this, if you look at the third potential definition of fair, which is, fair complexion, a lighter complexion, in this image here, she has a much lighter complexion than Rachel Zegler. But the better comparison, I think, would be right directly from the movie itself. And even in this one, she is much prettier than she is. So, in my opinion, why not just make Gal Gadot Snow White? Make Rachel Zegler the evil queen. You know, that seems to be that seems to be more in line with the truth anyway. Being that Gal Gadot is a good spokesperson for the movie, and Rachel is not. She's just not. She's an awful spokesperson. Which is why the video has been ratioed with 750,000 dislikes compared to 30,000 likes. It's insane how awful she is as a spokesperson. But anyway, that's what you get. And so yeah, I think she would have been a much better Snow White. And in all fairness, I did lighten her skin just a little bit. Just jump over here, I can show you that. So this is what she looked like originally in the from the AI. I had to make her dress yellow, and then I just pinked her skin a little bit and then whitened her a little more. But in the movie, they whiten Rachel Zegler towards in the climactic scene where she makes her triumphal entry. All right, so where did that happen? Like right here. So here she's whitened just a little bit. So me whitening her, Gal Gadot, doesn't really hurt anything. But anyway, that's this topic, and I'm gonna get off of this topic. It's the elephant in the room, right? So my other issue with this movie has to do with the dwarves, and two things. One is minor, one is major. First, the major point. Just jump over here to the trailer just to kind of show you the view of the gnomes. There it is. So there's here's the dwarves. Now, why Disney chose to go with CGI as opposed to real life actors, they only know. I mean, Peter Dinklage was offended. So what? So what? We've gone long past the idea that everybody has a fair voice, right? Now, if one person is offended, everybody has to put up with the consequences. That's ridiculous. Peter Dinklage was offended. Therefore, 7 dwarf actors are out of a job. Give me a break. Peter Dinklage just needs to get over himself. Is he the only one who's allowed to act? And he's had how many movie roles? He's been in at least 3 things that I can think of. Not just counting, Game of Thrones. Why would he be offended because dwarf actors were going to get a job? Did they not ask him to play a part? Is that his problem? Anyway, looking at this from a different perspective, I went to school several years ago in 2000 for 3D computer animation, and I really enjoyed animating. And so the little bit that I've seen of the animation in this film, it doesn't look too bad, at least in the trailer. I don't think it looked too bad, but it was probably motion capture. And so if it's motion cap, then, or mocap, it's going to be good, because it's going to be real life action. But the animator still has to add in the idiosyncrasies of the character. Sleepy's droopy eyes, which in this case you're not really sure which one's Sleepy, because he has droopy eyes. So which one of these are Sleepy? I mean, he could be Sleepy, but what's he? I mean, he looks constipated. He just looks like he's there. I just don't get it. I don't get it, because in the original movie, the dwarves actually had characteristics that you could see. You can clearly see who they are based on what they look like, right? Sneezy is sneezy. Sleepy is sleepy. Doc, glasses, makes him look smarter. Dopey, get the big ears and the oversized clothes, kind of dopey. Grumpy, he looks angry. Bashful, clearly bashful. You can tell who they are and what they are, or what their names are based on the looks on their faces, the emotions. With these things, you really can't. You really can't see it. Who are they? What are their names? Dopey, okay, I see that. Doc, glasses, okay, I see that. Is this guy grumpy? Could be, but this guy can be grumpy. Is this guy happy? Could be. Is this guy bashful? Could be. Is this guy constipated dwarf? Could be. I don't know. I don't know these four. These three, and you can make the argument that this one's grumpy. Okay, fine. As far as the other four, who knows? That's my biggest complaint with the dwarves. I don't mind that they use CGI. I mean, they could have used real actors. That one made more sense. I didn't mind the animation that I saw. It's more along the lines of you don't know who they are by looking at them, when you clearly did in the animated version. So that's one of the biggest issues I have. The other issue I have with them is their proportions are off. I mean, he has a big head, he has a big belly, fine. He has a big head and he doesn't have a big belly. His proportion is way off. He looks like he's proportioned like a toddler. Because toddlers have big heads and small bodies. And that's him, big head, small body. This guy has a big head, big body, but he looks like he's too short for his body and his head. And this guy looks probably proportioned right, he's probably proportioned right. The rest of them are pretty good, but this guy is way off, and this guy appears to be way off. But one of the things we learned in animation is that you could, when you're drawing the characters and you make them, if you want them a certain height, you do it according to their head size. So your head size is typically 1 foot from chin to top, crown. And so when you want to make a character, if you want to decide how tall your character is, you make them according to the head sizes, and you put joints in for the neck and the joints in for the knees. But typically it's head size. And so let me jump over to Photoshop and we can just take a look at that. So here's the characters in Photoshop, just a screen capture. And so just, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it's just me, right? It's my issue with it. The characters themselves, you can't tell who they are. That's the bigger issue. The proportion sizes is a much smaller issue. And like I said, it's my issue. It may not be your issue. It's clearly not the issue with every other person who's talked about this. But it is for me. So anyway, let me look at this just real quick. Doc is an easy one here. Taking a circle, put it around Maida's head. Now I didn't put in the joints because you can't really see his neck. I mean, you could take it down to his chin, I suppose, but and he's kind of hard to tell anyhow with his feet being gone. But I did it anyway. So the guy back here in the yellow cap, he's probably the easiest one, being that he is out of proportion. But his head size is right there. Now again, I didn't put his neck in, but the neck would be right there. And then you go down to his torso, and you bring him down. And here, maybe put a little space in there for his neck. And then you bring in his feet, his bottom, and he is right around 3.5 heads high. Okay, so he is a very small dwarf, but they had to keep it that way, right? They had to keep make the dwarves these proportions, I think, and I'm just assuming because Rachel Zegler herself is only 5 feet tall, and so they have to make these things smaller to look like dwarves on screen with her. And honestly, that could be the reason why they didn't use actual actors, people, because Rachel is only 5 feet tall, right? Let's see, how tall is Rachel Zegler? Rachel Zegler, 5 feet 2 inches tall. Let's pop this over here. So yeah, she's 5 feet 2 inches tall. There it is. And so if she's 5'2", then you can't really have your garden gnomes be taller, right? So just for comparison, how tall is Peter Dinklage? Okay, so he's 4'5" tall. He's 4.5 feet tall. If you put her next to him, it's only going to be, one head difference, and so you can't really use a dwarf actor on screen with a person who is barely taller than him, right? So in that respect, it makes sense. Let's look just to see how tall is Gal Gadot, or Gadot, whatever. 5'10", so she's almost 6 feet tall. It would have made a little more sense, but whatever. And just for proof of concept here, I brought over a picture of Rachel, this one here, into Photoshop, and so we put her head up there, and we put in the neck, and then the torso. As you can see, the torso is 1 head high, and then you have the waist, and that again is 1 head high, and down to the thigh area would be another head, and you have to put in the little circle for the knee, and then the ankle, which is just below the knee. And so she's kind of slanted here, tilted, so this is a little bit off. It's not going to be 100%, but then you put in the foot area, and she is wearing heels, so that's going to throw the measurement off just a little bit, but that looks pretty close to what she is. Jump over here, 5'2" tall. Yeah, that's pretty close. The better one, I think, would be Peter Dinklage, because we're talking about his proportions as opposed to the dwarf's proportions. So we'll jump over here to Photoshop and see what his proportions look like. So here we got Peter Dinklage, and just to get his head in there. So here's his head, and we'll put in a little neck area because his chin actually drops pretty low Your neck actually starts back here, but just for the sake of argument, we're going to put it right here to show from his chin to his torso. And we'll put the torso in, and he's got a much bigger torso than Rachel has. And then we go to the waist. Waist area is right in here. That's pretty accurate. And so now we have to put in his thigh, and the thigh area, and then the knee area. So it's kind of lower. His knee is a little bit lower. It could probably make the case that it should be up here, but you know, it's his proportions are just a little bit weird because of his dwarfism. And then you got the foot. So bringing the knee down to where it connects, you're getting into the 4.5 foot mark on him. So this proof of concept, the head sizes is pretty accurate, being that he is 4.5 feet tall and he is 1, 2, 3, 4.5 feet high. So 4.5 heads high. So I think it's a pretty fair evaluation, or fair way to evaluate the size of the dwarves. And so let's jump back over here to this. And so this guy is 3 heads high, 3 feet high. Then you got the guy back here with the green cap on. He's got 2, 3 feet high because his feet are right there. So I mean, I can understand all of this, but it's this guy back here that's a little bit out of proportion. There's his 1 head high, he's 2 heads high, now he's 3 heads high, and now he's 3.5. So he's a little bit off. But it's really hard to tell because it looks like they're going up a hill. But the most egregious offender out of all of them is Grumpy, because there's 1 head, there's 2 heads, and he's 2.5 feet high. So he's only 2.5 feet tall. For me, that's an issue. For you, probably not. So, nonetheless, I'm just going to wrap it up here. The whole idea of the dwarves, you can't tell who they are by looking at them. Their proportions, like I said, for me that's an issue. Probably not for you, but definitely the idea of trying to figure out who they are, that is an issue. It's going to be an issue for a lot of people. And quite frankly, I'll probably never see this movie. I seriously doubt that I get into movie reviews, full-fledged movie reviews. There are a lot of people out there who do it a whole lot better than I do. So I'm not going to try to shoehorn myself into their sphere. But the whole concept of this movie, if they stick with the theme that Snow White is more fair, as in kinder, gentler, non-discriminating or indiscriminate than the Queen, then yeah, I can understand this movie, and it would make a lot of sense. But just the mere fact that from the trailer they take the original concept of Snow White being more beautiful than the Queen, which was the entire concept of that movie, and then they shoehorn it into their new concept, makes no sense. No sense at all. I get they want to keep the iconic scene with the mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Fine. But don't make fair equivalent to beauty in that scene. Make it equivalent to kinder, gentler, indiscriminate in your judgments. Make it that type of fair as they started off with. It makes more sense. Keep it that. Don't try to shoehorn the old one in. I don't understand why they do that. I really don't. And while we're on that topic, the idea of her being the strong, dominant woman in the room, she goes to the dwarves in this trailer and she says, "Oh, I'm going to need your help." If she is supposed to be this woman who is powerful and she comes into her own and she runs in and she takes over the kingdom from the queen, I honestly can't see the dwarves or the prince or whatever he's supposed to be. I can't see them having any type of a role in this overthrowing of the queen. If they do, it's got to be minute, right? With all the movies that have happened in the past few years where the strong woman goes in and kicks butt and beats up 100 guys, they're all twice her size. The only way I can see this working for Snow White and to come into her own as they've said, is that these dwarves and even the prince has a very, very minute role. I can easily see it being Snow White that goes in, marches herself up to the castle and to the highest room or wherever, and takes out the queen on her own. I mean, it has to be that way. These dwarves, they really can't play that big of a role. Maybe get her into the castle, maybe get her into the city. The prince, maybe let him get her in. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Like I said, I'll probably never see it. If I do see it, I doubt I'll review it. If I do review it, forgive me for trying to shoehorn into somebody else's realm. Anyway, as always, you will see me next time.